everyone, and welcome back. As you can probably tell from the intro, today we're going to be taking a look at the 1/7 scale Belfast by Alter. This is Belfast in her Iridescent Roses skin, which is a skin that was released for the 2019 Lunar New Year event. And as soon as I saw the skin in the game, I fell in love with it. And once I found out there was a figure of her, I had to have it. So the figure is based off the artwork of the game. It's very, very slightly different from the artwork, but I'll point that all out when we have a look at it. I also just want to let you guys know that I did unbox the figure. Originally, I wanted this to be an unboxing, but my previous footage, the sound did not come out on at all, so I've had to step back and re-record this. So you won't be seeing her inside her packaging, just outside. So this is the box that Belfast originally comes in. It's got this lovely deep navy colour, along with some gold, some red, and some really pretty flowers. I want to say cherry blossoms, but I don't think they are. But it's a really, really pretty box. It's very elegant looking. And again, this navy colour, a nice little detail that you might not be able to see, is that it's actually got some light lines across it to make a crisscross pattern. It's very, very subtle, but it just looks so nice on the box. On the front of the box as well, if I just tilt it up, just here in this circle is the Royal Navy insignia for the game. And I really like its touch on the box, because that's the group of ships that Belfast is from. And it's really, really pretty. Also just this general patterning and the other lane at the bottom. The box is very, it's very, very pretty. I like it. Going to the back of the box, instead of having the artwork on it, you've actually just got a full picture of the figure itself, as well as a little close-up for her face and a close-up of her back just here. It would have been nice to have the original artwork, but even so, I do really, really like the box. But enough about the box. Let's talk about the figure. Here we have the lovely lady herself, Belfast. She's all put together. She looks really, really nice. However, when I first opened her, I was originally disappointed. And before I got onto reviewing the figure deeply, I thought it would be best to tell you sort of why I'm disappointed in her. This bit of plastic fabric is actually not attached in, and it does lift off, as you can probably, I don't know if you can really see that clearly, but I'll try and get a close-up of it. Basically the peg has popped out. It's not going to be like a big fix, but it's still like a little bit disheartening when it arrives and you get it out and you're like, oh no. My figure as well also has a little bit of imperfections on her. The most noticeable one, if you're looking at it, is probably just on the side of her head. There is a scuff mark where it looks like the paint has been chipped off. Because her hair's white anyway, it's not too noticeable, but I know it's there. So a bit about her before we have a little closer look. I did actually get her from Ninoma, and I got her for 21,800 yen. She is currently, or at least at the time of filming, she has been in the bargain bin. So if you do like this figure, I definitely recommend getting her for the lower price. I'm a little bit salty at how much I paid for her in comparison to how much she is now, because I also got hit by customs as well as shipping, and she ended up being more expensive than what I would have liked. But she's here now. She's still pretty. If you do like her, I would highly recommend picking her up. So the first thing that you've probably noticed is she has a very, very large base. It is really nicely patterned. It is a sort of marble effect with some gold splashed along it. and I think it makes it look really, really nice. Kind of like the sort of marble flooring and everything that you get in like fancy buildings. So the figure comes with 2 pegs on the base rather than on the figure itself. You've got a peg for her foot, and you've also got a peg for her long scarf. The pig does not have a peg, so just be aware that if you do get this figure, the pig is completely unattached to the base. If you knock into your figure, your pig will go flying. You do get an extra hand with the figure. So this hand is the original one that she came with, and then the hand that I've currently got her displayed with is the spare hand that you get. This little tassel is pretty fragile, so just be careful of it. It's slightly bendy, but I wouldn't recommend touching it too much just in case it snaps. But the fan itself is really, really pretty. A deep, rich red with a little splash of gold on it. It looks very nice, and being that there isn't too much red on the figure itself, it really, really stands out and catches your eye. She does have other parts of red on her person. The red parts that you've got is you've got like a little bit of red here on the rope, as well as on the one that is connecting her dress together. And if you can see one of them clearly, I'm gonna have to try and get the other bracelet down, but she's got 2 bracelets on, which are red bracelets, again very, very fragile, with like little green charms on them. Really, really pretty, and these aren't static, they do slide about on the arm, so just bear that in mind when you're moving her arms about. Colour wise, I think all of the colours really, really work well together. You've got overall a mix of blues, and the really, really bright, almost pearlescent blue in the back for the long scarf is really, really pretty. It's got a very slight sheen to it, and it is very, very slightly clear, which I think is a really, really nice effect, and it just works so well. The dress part itself is really, really pretty. It's got some really detailed floral patterning added onto it, and again that see-through look as well just makes it very elegant looking. The patterns are gorgeous, there's no paint out of line on there, and it just looks very, very nice. There is a slight alteration to the original design of the dress, whereas if I just turn her around so she's hopefully a bit more visible, her side here, just underneath where her boobs are, is this bit of flesh is actually covered in the original artwork. So they've taken a little bit of, I think it's actually meant to be the little jacket that she's got on, but it is not a big deal. It still looks really, really lovely as it is, even if it's showing a bit more flesh. Another thing to note as well about this dress is that you can actually see her belly button, and you can make out the faint line of where her panties are as well. Moving on to the jacket that she's wearing. This is where the figure disappoints very slightly, and this is because on her arms she's actually got 2 seam lines. I'm quite surprised that Ulta didn't try and smooth out these seam lines to get rid of them. They are noticeable, but I think when you're looking at her, like when she's in your detail, I think when you look at her, they're not as noticeable as they are that when you're just looking at her closely. But they're still there, and I know they're there. The patterns on the jacket is really, really nice. So her sleeves have a very delicate swelling pattern, which is all cleanly painted, all really, really nice. And the blue is a very slightly different shade of blue, which is similar to what it is in the original artwork as well. Moving further up her, on her neck you've got a collar on her, and you've got some little chains. The metallic colour is not as nice as the colour on her rigging for her pig. On my one, it does look that where they connect, the paint is not very well defined on which bits are separate. But that could just be how I'm looking at it, but it's not too big of a deal. It still does look very nice. And again, how it sort of sits, how you've got that movement in that chain link is really nice as well. Her face is absolutely gorgeous. I I loved her face when I saw her in the box. When I got her to her blister pack, it still hasn't changed. I do love her facial expression. It's very clean, it's very nice, and I think it really, really suits her. Onto her hair, however, I do find it a bit strange that this bang is just like a clear see-through bit of plastic, whereas on the sculpt for the hair in general, it's only right near the tips that you get like the really clear plastic for her. I just find it like a little bit odd. As I mentioned before, on my particular figure, where one of the seam lines for her hair is where I've actually got some damage to it. Apart from that, everything else works really, really nicely. The seam lines for her head are quite noticeable when you look at it on the top. The bangs themselves look pretty nice. I do like the shading in it, so it's got some really, really nice shading to the top of the hair. And then if I just spin her around so you can have a look at her braid, you can see how it's kind of, I wouldn't really say, it's more of like a pinky shaded colour. So she's got like this really light sort of pink here, just around where her braids are, and just leading down to the rest, eventually into the clear plastic. Moving back down on the figure now. We went up, but we didn't go down. She's got these gorgeous little bows at the back of her feet. You can't quite see them super clearly just because of how she's positioned and how her legs are mainly covered by the fabric, but they do look really, really nicely sculpted. I like the gradient colour on her stockings. I'm not entirely sold by what looks like socks on her feet. She's got like these black and purple stripy socks that kind of don't fully fit in with the figure. I can't remember if the artwork actually has her in those socks, so I am going to have to double check afterwards. On the plastic that is leading down, hanging off her, you've got a really nice bit of the see-through plastic again used on the end where this circular, I guess you'd call it kind of like a bracelet or a disc. It's really, really pretty. It really shines through nicely, and again, I would just be careful of it. Again, it does wiggle, but I would still be very, very careful of it. It seems like that would be another part that would break. Last but not least, let us talk about my favourite part of this figure. So the turret on the pig is painted really, really well. The gunmetal colour is absolutely gorgeous, and it's shaded perfectly, as well as got some bits of highlight on it as well on the main tunnels here. Another thing to note about these, I call them tunnels, but I don't really know what they're actually called. But they are actually hollowed at the tip, so it's a really, really nice detail. Rather than it being painted on, I like the fact that it is actually sculpted that way. A nice thing about the turret as well is that you can actually turn it left or right, so depending on how you want to display it, it does squeak a little. The pig itself is really, really cute. I love the pig so much. I love its little maid headband, the texture for the ears, the different shades on it, just its general all appearance. And the scarf that it has on is very, very nice as well. It's shaded really well, and it's draped all over the little piggy to keep it warm. It's also got a really adorable little tail. Again, as I mentioned before, my only problem with the pig is that it doesn't stay on the base because it's not got a support or a like peg for it. It does just slide. If you move the figure too quick, the pig does go flying. Overall thoughts about the figure? I definitely like her. I like her a lot more than when I first opened her, because I was struck with that broken part, as well as like the little defects on the hair. And I think because I'd also opened Formidable recently is why I was originally so disappointed on the figure. However, looking at her more, there is a lot more I like to it. There still is stuff that I don't like about it, but the bits that I don't like are mainly to do with the quality control on my one, and then the seam lines. That is the only issues I really have with her. Would I recommend the figure? I definitely would. But again, I'd recommend to pick it up while it's still cheap, rather than picking it up for how much I paid for it. At the time of recording this, I do know she is still on Ami cheap, so I would definitely have a look there for her. Just like before, we're gonna have some lovely B-roll, so you can get a closer look at her. And yeah, do tell me what your thoughts are on Belfast, as well as if you ordered her, how yours came out, and just let me know generally what you think. Bye bye for now, and hopefully see you again next time.